Somewhere in the Persian Gulf, a United States Navy ship the size of a small aircraft carrier sits in international waters, miles from any coast. Her flight deck is busy with helicopters. Her hangars hold mine-clearing equipment, special operations gear, and drones. She does not need a port. She does not need a host nation's permission. She can stay where she is for months at a time. The ship is the USS Lewis B. Puller. She is 233 meters long. She displaces approximately 90,000 long tons fully loaded, comparable to a Nimitz-class supercarrier. She cost approximately $650 million to build, roughly 1/20th the cost of a Ford-class supercarrier. She is the lead ship of the largest expeditionary base class the United States Navy has ever constructed. Most Americans have never heard of her. What do you think the largest United States Navy ship that most Americans have never heard of is? Drop your answer in the comments below. Most people picture the United States Navy fleet a certain way. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines. What they do not picture is a separate class of ships that exists for a specific purpose, to be a floating military base for operations that take place far from any American territory. These ships are called Expeditionary Sea Bases. The class is officially known as the Lewis B. Puller class, named after the lead ship and the legendary Marine Corps Lieutenant General. 4 are currently in active service. 2 more are under construction at General Dynamics NASCO in San Diego, California. The lead ship, USS Lewis B. Puller, designated ESB-3, was commissioned in August of 2017. Over the next decade, the rest of the class joined the fleet. The most recent, USS John L. Canley, was commissioned in February of 2024. We are going to walk through what this ship actually is, how it is built, and what it does that no other naval vessel in the world can do. This is the most strategically significant class of ships in the modern United States Navy. Most Americans have never heard of it. What people think they know about U.S. Navy ships does not apply here. Aircraft carriers are huge. Destroyers fight. Submarines hide. The Expeditionary Sea Base fits none of those categories. It is a different kind of warship entirely, built on the hull of a commercial crude oil tanker, modified into a floating military installation. The USS Lewis B. Puller is 233 meters long. Newer ships in the class are slightly larger at 239 meters. Each one displaces approximately 90,000 long tons fully loaded. The flight deck is large enough to operate 4 heavy helicopters simultaneously. The hangar below it can service heavy lift transport helicopters and mine countermeasures aircraft at the same time. The ship operates with a hybrid crew, civilian mariners from Military Sealift Command running the vessel itself, and Navy personnel handling the mission systems. Up to 250 additional embarked military personnel can live aboard depending on the mission. The Puller does not project air power like a carrier. It does not hunt submarines or shoot down missiles. Its standard defensive armament consists of 1250 caliber machine gun stations, and that is all. What this ship does is allow the United States to conduct sustained military operations in places where no American base exists, for as long as the Navy wants to stay there. Below the waterline, in the structure of the hull itself, sits the most surprising design choice of the entire program. The Lewis B. Puller is not built from scratch as a warship. She is built on the hull form of a commercial crude oil tanker, specifically the Alaska-class design, originally built by NASCO in San Diego to transport crude oil from the north slope of Alaska to refineries on the west coast. 4 of those tankers were constructed in the early 2000s. They were double-hulled, mandated by the Oil Pollution Act of 1990, and each had a deadweight tonnage of roughly 185,000 tons. The Navy looked at that hull form and saw an opportunity. NASSCO took the same design, modified the structure, replaced the cargo tanks with a 4-spot flight deck above and a flexible mission deck below, and turned it into a mobile landing platform. The program evolved into the Expeditionary Sea Base. The advantage is practical. Commercial tanker designs are cheap compared to traditional warships. The hull form is proven and stable. The internal volume is enormous. The Navy gets a ship the size of a small aircraft carrier for approximately $650 million, roughly 1/20th the cost of a Ford-class supercarrier. The trade-off is that the ESB is not built to fight. It carries minimal defensive armament. If one comes under serious attack, it depends on escort ships for protection. The Lewis B. Puller was designed to be useful, not survivable. Below the flight deck sits one of the most important features of the ship, the mission deck. This is a large, flexible interior space designed to be reconfigured for whatever the Navy needs. On a Puller-class ESB, the mission deck includes vehicle storage areas, equipment staging zones, accommodations for embarked military personnel, and access to small craft launch and recovery systems. The ship can deploy rigid hull inflatable boats, unmanned underwater vehicles, and helicopters from the same interior. Up to 250 embarked military personnel can live and work on the mission deck during a deployment. The configuration changes from mission to mission. One deployment might be configured for mine countermeasures in the Persian Gulf, with MH-53E Sea Dragon helicopters and mine-sweeping equipment loaded into the hangar. The next might support special operations teams operating somewhere in the Indian Ocean. The next might be a humanitarian relief platform after a natural disaster with medical supplies and helicopters for delivery. The hardware changes. The ship stays the same. The Lewis B. Puller has spent the bulk of her operational life forward deployed to Bahrain, supporting U.S. Naval Forces Central Command. She does not return to the United States for long stretches between deployments. She lives in the theater. Before we look at what makes this ship strategically unique, the part most viewers will never have considered, take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit subscribe right now and let us keep going. 12 nautical miles from the coast. That is where every country's territorial waters end. Beyond that line, every nation's vessels have freedom of navigation. No host country's permission is required. No diplomatic agreement applies. This is the legal foundation that makes the ESB class strategically unique. Traditional military bases require a host nation's agreement to exist. The United States operates an estimated 700 to 750 military installations in foreign countries, and every one of them depends on a treaty or arrangement that can be modified, restricted, or revoked. American bases have been closed in Saudi Arabia. They have been reduced in Iraq. They have been renegotiated in Germany, in Korea, and in dozens of other places. The political cost of maintaining foreign bases has been rising for decades, and ESB removes that constraint. Because the ship operates in international waters, typically more than 12 nautical miles from any coast, it requires no host nation agreement to exist. It can stay in a region indefinitely. It can move at roughly 15 knots if the regional situation changes. It can support operations on shore, but it does not depend on any onshore facility for its own existence. The base does not stay still. The Lewis B. Puller's nominal home port is Bahrain, but the ship itself spends most of her time at sea. She moves when she needs to move. She remains when she needs to remain. Did you know the U.S. Navy can maintain a forward military base in any ocean on Earth without asking permission from any other country? Yes or no? Tell us in the comments. At this point, the Puller stops being a single ship and becomes a class. The lead ship, USS Lewis B. Puller, ESB-3, was commissioned in August of 2017. The second, USS Herschel Woody Williams, ESB-4, was commissioned in March of 2020 and forward deployed to support U.S. Africa Command, operating across the Mediterranean and the waters around Africa. The third, USS Miguel Keith, ESB-5, was commissioned in May of 2021 and assigned to the Indo-Pacific region. The fourth, USS John L. Canley, ESB-6, was commissioned in February of 2024. Two more are under construction at NASCO, the future USS Robert E. Simonek, ESB-7, and the future USS Hector A. Cafferata Jr., ESB-8. 6 ships in total. The class expanded quietly across nearly a decade with very little attention from the public. Look at the names of those ships: Lewis B. Puller, Herschel Williams, Miguel Keith, John Canley, Robert Simonek, Hector Cafferata. Every single ship in the class is named after a United States Marine. 5 of them received the Medal of Honor for actions in close combat at Iwo Jima, at the Chosin Reservoir in Korea, at the Battle of Hue in Vietnam, and in other engagements where the fighting was at point-blank range. The 6th, Chesty Puller, earned 5 Navy crosses across 3 wars, more than any other Marine in history. That naming pattern is not an accident. The Expeditionary Sea Base exists to support the people who fight close to the ground. The civilian mariners and Navy crews aboard live the routine of a forward base in their daily work. The embarked Special Operations Forces train, rehearse, and deploy from a ship most of their families could not point to on a map. The missions these ships support, counter-piracy, mine clearance, hostage rescue rehearsals, and operations the public almost never hears about, are part of what enables American military reach into every ocean on Earth. As long as the United States maintains these ships, it can place a self-sustaining military base anywhere on the planet within weeks, without negotiating with anyone. A hull built from a commercial oil tanker design. A flight deck the size of the small carrier. A mission deck flexible enough to host special operations teams or mine-clearing helicopters. The ability to operate anywhere in international waters without asking permission from any other country. And 6 ships, each named after a Marine, each quietly extending American military reach into every ocean on Earth. The first Expeditionary Sea Base was commissioned in 2017, the most recent in 2024. 2 more are under construction now. None of them will appear in a Hollywood movie. None of them will be on a magazine cover. They will continue to do what they do, quietly, far from home, for as long as the Navy needs them. The civilian mariners and Navy sailors who serve on these ships are not famous. The Marines whose names the ships carry are not household names. Chesty Puller is remembered in Marine Corps history, but most of the others are known only inside the institutions that honored them. The missions these ships support, though, are part of the daily work of American naval power that the public almost never sees. What do you think is more important, the ships that fight or the ships that make fighting possible? Tell us in the comments. If this video gave you a new respect for what these ships actually do and for the people who serve on them, hit the like button right now and subscribe to the channel so you never miss what we cover next. We will see you in the next one.